Hi, I'm Georgie Dickens, host of Stratospheric Leaders, the podcast where I get to have inspired conversations with extraordinary leaders from across capital markets. Join me to hear their game-changing strategies, the personal stories and powerful sound bites behind their stratospheric success. Every episode packed with wisdom, insight and real-world lessons, the stuff they simply don't teach you in business school. If you want to elevate your game and most importantly, those around you, this podcast is for you. Enjoy. Lance, it is an absolute delight to have you back on Stratospheric Leaders. I think this is your third time you've been on the podcast. And every time I leave, I'm like, there's so many more leadership gems I take away. But today what we're doing is we are exploring the book, Raise the Bar, which we wrote together last year. And this is a compilation of 250 of your top lessons, but there's many more than 250. But for me, I really wanted to go beneath the lesson to understand what do these lessons look like in action. So I've chosen 9 lessons and we're going to go through those. So where we start is, do you know what was interesting? When we wrote the book Stratospheric CEOs, I remember saying to you, if you were to write a book, what would you call it? And you said at the time, manners matter. And one of the leadership gems you shared in this book, Raise the Bar, is you said, work ethic, manners, and awareness of the world around you are foundational skills. So I'm going to underscore foundational. They cost nothing, and mastering them early in your career creates a lasting advantage. So we all understand the word work ethic, but let's speak to what does that look like for you?
Well, I always say, because I think work ethic, some people are afraid of that word, but I think of work ethic as above or below average. And I really want to inspire people to be above average. And to me, if the average in the company you work in is 42 hours a week, then be 43, 44, 45. It's not about being 60, 70, 80, Goldman Sachs 100, I hear. I think it's really about operating above average. And when I think of work ethic, manners, and awareness, as you put them, to me, these are real, they're not nice to haves. They're kind of non-negotiable. And I think for great leadership, these, they're real equalizers. Because if you give them to people, anybody can achieve them. It's not about whether you know physics, math, or science, or whether you have command of 3 languages. It's something that you're able to learn, you can achieve, and you can be exceptional. And so to me, if you master this early in your career, you get a compounding advantage over time.
I love that. And I think so much of work ethic is common sense, not common practice. And as you said, this is available to everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, and it can be practiced. And the earlier you do it, I love what you said, it's the cumulative impact if you start it.
Yes. And it's for me, when I think about it, this is how you show up every day. You show up with awareness, you show up with work ethic, you show up with great manners, and that's a portrait of your ambition. And I love that.
And great manners, I mean, I have in my head what great manners look like, being polite, saying thank you. What are some of the things you associate with great manners?
Those are foundational. If I take manners and put them to the foundation, I'd put all those there. But, for me in a business environment, it's showing up to meetings on time, being prepared, having read the documents. It's if you're leading a meeting, maybe pause by the door to thank people on their way out. If you have a chance and you see somebody doesn't quite understand something, take time to explain it. If somebody's lost, new to the firm, give them a helping hand. It's really simple. Manners to me is it should be second nature. And when it's not, you can learn and create that.
The being prepared piece made me smile because it reminded me, Henry Fernandez, who you and I know well, he talked about you'd never go to a book club meeting and all read the first chapter together. Like the expectation is you've read the chapter, we all show up, and then we debrief it. And what you said there about if someone doesn't get it, I suppose that also speaks to me about your quality of presence in the meeting, to be able to see the fact that someone doesn't get it, or to know what questions to ask people.
No, 100%. When I say awareness, it's somebody's ability to be interesting in any setting. And, when you're aware of music, and you're aware of the arts, and you're aware of sport, and you're aware of drama, you're aware of politics, economics, war, it's knowing what's going on in the world and showing an interest to develop a relationship and a discussion with somebody around something that they're most interested in. And so I found throughout my business career that easy leadership skill, or relationship building skill is probably a better word, which is an important part of leadership, was that by being aware, I was able to sit next to anybody in a meeting, a dinner table, an event, or walk into an event and find some common ground to begin a dialogue. And that discussion develops your first sense of relationship with somebody. And then from that, you develop the opportunity to do business together.
You were the one who taught me be interested and be interesting. And I remember when we were talking about music, you're like, do you know like how the band Nickelback, how they got their name? And you shared that. And I remember, and it just really landed for me, the importance of finding that common ground. Like, be curious, ask questions, because you never know. We often meet people as their surface. We don't know the submerged part, their passions, their hobbies, their interests. The more curious we are, the more we can find those connection points.
No, exactly.
Relationship building, you just mentioned. I just want to pivot there for a second, because, we live in a world of AI acceleration and transformation. And I think it's still very much, human and AI, not human or AI. How do you cultivate, what advice would you give people about how to cultivate relationships in an AI world?
Well, I'd say the first thing that I think is increasingly important today, doesn't matter who you are or what age you are, but understand the strengths and weaknesses of the AI agent and the creation of that agent, and how it's going to impact your particular role or your company or your day-to-day activities. We're already using AI in everything we do. We use it when we get into an Uber, and the Uber chooses the route to drive us. We also use AI when we get onto our music in our car, and Spotify suggesting a song for us to say, or a new playlist. We're using it to help spell check a letter, help us write a speech. We're using it for so many different things. And that, really does, allow you to learn and develop the strengths of these new technologies. And I found through my whole career, whether it was the mobile phone, email, the cloud, any of the object-oriented programming, fast chips, so many things have changed throughout my career. I was always one that just said, I have to understand the capabilities of the technology around me. And so I find it's the same with AI. Make sure you're a user, make sure you're developing and understanding the strengths and weaknesses of it, and then applying it to the opportunity that you have. And that opportunity can be very, very broad.
I love that. Understand the capabilities. And again, in one of our conversations, you quoted the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, where you said, be a know-it-all, learn it all, not a know-it-all, be in that constant pursuit of learning. Okay, so one of the lessons, if I go to the second lesson that I'd love to discuss today, you talked about a strong vision. have a strong vision and regularly communicate it. And really, because look, this helps make people feel part of something bigger. When you think of, what the piece I want to kind of pull the thread on here is regularly communicate it. What do you mean by regularly? Like, what is the cadence and what are the vehicles? Because there's so many vehicles available to us now.
Well, first off, you're describing around the whole setting of vision, etc.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think it's have the shared vision.
yeah, yeah. I guess I think what's really important is that if you're a leader, I think the word compelling is really important. Can you create a compelling vision and then repeat it often? Because it has to become second nature. People have to believe it. It can't be just a fleeting platitude that you put out and then it's there, but it's not reinforced. To me, it's really important that the vision, the vision statement, and everything around vision needs to be repeated often, and it needs to be what I would say. I think the most important words I ever use around vision is, do we have a compelling vision? I also think that people perform better when they feel that they're a part of something bigger than they are themselves. Right? When you create a compelling vision, you're encompassing people that work for you. And from that, you create something that people can really kind of get into. And I love it when I feel that I'm leading something where people want to be a part of to make it even better. And so I don't think, my own personal ambition is always that, when you have a vision, it should be stated, but it's, it's something that stretches people. It's compelling. It's given people this, this opportunity to believe alongside you.
I love that. Believe alongside you. And when you say repeat it often, I kind of think it's about being the CRO as well, the chief repetition or the chief reinforcement officer. What do you think? How important is it in terms of the medium? Is it through email, town halls, like in person? How do you? Do you give much in thought to the vehicle by which you communicate the message?
I think use all forms of communication all the time. And so, of course, review the year, quarterly updates, your annual budget, and then quarterly review, your town halls where you're just, giving people a feeling for what's going on in the firm and what's going on in the business around us. How are we doing? Our employee health checks are, so many ways to communicate with your employees, your regular reviews, your review process. So to me, I want to use all forms of communication all the time. And I think that's really important.
And how do you know people get it? Like, how do you know that how does it come back to you in a way that you're like, yeah, people understand the vision we're on?
I think surveying is really important. So I like regular surveying. I used short quarterly kind of pulses where you'd ask 3 or 4 questions that you could get 60, 70, 80% of the population would answer them. They were easy. When you answered one question, you didn't have to scroll down. It immediately went to the next question. It was easy to use. It was multiple choice. And you could quickly, by the next day of the survey being completed, you could give feedback and be honest. Say, look, I can't believe it. We scored so low on communication and I'm working so hard on it. So clearly I'm doing something wrong. I'm going to ask you another question. How would you like communication to be improved? Send me an email, send me a text, send me a WhatsApp. Give me some idea of how I can be better as a leader in communicating with you. And so, take what you get honestly and use it to be even better. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, I love that. And I remember in one of our conversations, you saying as well that the shared vision comes back to you through shareholders and stakeholders. You find that the messaging is coming back. So,
Yeah,
it is being,
yeah.
communicated out as well.
I would also say I know it's working because the performance of the company starts to show it, or the glass door reports on people wanting to work at the company, people wanting to refer the company. All these things are great indicators of your success.
And that shared vision, to coin the phrase, and whether I like this one or not, it's about a leadership team all rowing in the same direction. Um, uh, if how do you ensure that or your leadership team, if they don't agree, but when they leave the room, everyone is bought in, invested in, and aligned with the ambition?
Well, I think that's a core, strategic uh, property or values of the firm in terms of, we lead together as one. If we have, you've got to be strong as a leader on alignment and getting people aligned. Like if you've got 5 out of 9 of your leadership team aligned or split 5-4, that's going to be dangerous because you're going to get mixed messages going back out in your firm. You need to align the leadership team, reach agreement and consensus. If you don't have consensus, it's non-negotiable. We've made the decision, and it's up to you to lead with that as your front step. And if you're negative towards your leadership decisions, that's just unacceptable. It's not possible. It's not acceptable. It's not going to work for you to be successful.
And what you shared there about, we lead together as one, making sure the values, like the values underpin if there's a certain ambition, making sure that the values underpin the behaviours that you want to see observed.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so audacious goals. I want to move on to the next lesson here. And, you've said that you always ask everyone on the team to give you one wildly important goals, the WIGs or the BHAGs, the big, hairy, audacious goals. And I love what you said, because you said it's important to dream where you are going. If you're dreaming, you're going to go up 3 steps, you're likely to go up 3 steps, but why not dream you're going to go all the way to the top? So I'd love to hear about how audaciousness, how do you embody that?
No, I think asking people for a BHAG or asking people to, have their one wildly important goal, it encourages bold thinking. And I think that's really important. It also, I think some alignment of individual purpose with company direction. So I'm in a company, you ask me for that wildly important goal, and I say, I'd like to achieve X this quarter, and it's a real stretch, it's aligned to the vision, and the person's trying to overreach, extend themselves, take themselves to a new level. And I think when you start to do that across an entire firm, you actually start to create a firm that's an overachiever itself, because the combination of that behavior leads you to a really exciting, successful place. And I've had great success in using BHAGs or WIGs as they were named in helping me lead and direct people.
I think emotions are contagious as well. There's an emotional contagion piece here, and that encouraging bold thinking, that's the ripple, not just from the leadership team, but then ripples out and cascades throughout the organization.
Yes. And if you don't believe in your destination boldly, right, then, you can't expect extraordinary outcomes, right? Like if you're expecting extraordinary outcomes, then you got to define yourself boldly, right? Extraordinary doesn't come where it says, we want to grow 7% this year, expand margin a couple points, get to 10% earnings growth. That's not that bold. Say we're expected to grow 8 to 10%. we see the market opportunity to accelerate through 10. It's much more exciting. Now, you might not, but it might bring you to the top of your range and you could end up at 9, and that wouldn't be the worst outcome.
Yeah. Well, excitement to me, even here, there's a passion and an enthusiasm behind that. And you use the word extraordinary, and it made me think of the All Blacks, the New Zealand rugby team. And they said they're ordinary people doing extraordinary things. They're not in
You
any
got
way
it.
different to the English rugby team or the French, but they
Yeah.
have this culture and a value set that means they perform at the very, very best levels.
Yeah.
And the other, my one of my sons recently, I think at school, he was talking about the word impossible, and it's like, I'm possible, and I'm like, yeah, nothing's impossible. It just hasn't been, when we had the marathon runner Sebastian, I'm now going to forget his surname, the London Marathon runner last week. He was one of the first people, well, the first person to do a sub 2 hour marathon. So,
Yes.
and people would have beforehand said, like, that's not possible, not to Sebastian.
No. And that's fantastic, because that's somebody dreaming to do something that we didn't think was going to happen. So I love to see that.
The third lesson I want to cover is about leadership and risk taking, because you said leadership means taking a gamble, but whilst weighing the odds. So you'd never take casino odds, but I will make bold moves. So as a former trader, there's whether your risk is hardwired in or it's something you've cultivated. How do you do that? How do you take the gamble whilst taking the odds? Like, what does taking risk look like to you?
Well, it's always calculated risk, first off. So that to me is really important. It's never recklessness. So, you mentioned never casino odds. I believe that. That's not going to help. And it's that intelligent risk versus gambling. I'm never thinking you should gamble. But at some point you got to press yourself and see if you can, take the next opportunity. So you weigh your odds carefully, and you're willing to act decisively.
Yeah, I love that. Willing to act decisively, always calculated, never reckless. And I'm assuming it's like a muscle. The more you exercise it, then you've got a pattern of like, well, look, I can look back when I took risks there, it worked. And that can give you the confidence to do it again.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think the courage in leadership can never be blind. It's got to be informed.
How important is intuition to you?
Oh, I think it's not available to everybody, but if you have it, use it.
And how does your intuition speak to you? Is it like in the shower when you're going out for a walk? Do you have to actively connect with it? Like
There all the time.
There
all the time, every second of the day.
Yeah.
Whether it's just looking forward, looking for that grandchild to fall into the water, into the pool, the new puppy to chew the new carpet. It's just got to be this constant ability to look forward at things around you, and then use that intuition to move before others move, and gain an advantage.
Because with our intuition, it's not coming from nowhere. Like it's accumulation of all our experiences and everything to date.
Well, yeah, that too. That's your learnings definitely help, but then you have to then use it and make the call. There's no use having the intuition and keeping it all to yourself. And it's paying attention to things and grabbing that edge when you see it. And I think it comes natural to many people, but not all.
And the grabbing the edge, like, how do you know when you're onto something? What happens for you physiologically? Like, how do you know when, like, this is a bold move that I want to act decisively on?
Yeah, I do get a gut feel on something, and I'm not afraid to act on it. And when I do, I kind of first make sure the math works, the science.
Yeah.
Art always comes second to me. The math has to work, the science, and then the art can follow. And the art is all the softer skills around the strategy. But if the math doesn't work, I won't go there. And you can see that a lot of times the math tells you enough. And if people are showing you, well, this is going to grow at 100% this year, 200 next year, 300 the following year, and they show you some hockey stick and they're going to expand margins threefold and be highly profitable and pay off the debt in 1.5 years, I kind of go, really? Let's work on that math. Let's look at the TAM. Let's look at the pricing. Let's look at inflation. Let's look at debt levels, interest rate levels, economies, war, people, AI. Where's your moat? What's protecting this?
Yeah.
So I want to look at all that.
Great question there. Where is your moat? What is protecting you? Okay, so next lesson, and you used Formula One as an analogy, and I love, since Drive to Survive came out, I've been a Formula One fan, and you said that in Formula One, it's rare for a new driver to be on the podium in race one. It's about that sustained success, takes time, and requires discipline and consistent investment in capability. Speak more to that.
Yeah, I guess when I think about high performance, then the race car driver would be a good one to look at that. Consistency, discipline, and a regular investment in the capability in that driver. It's fitness, it's training, it's diet, it's health, it's speed, it's reflex, handling the G-force, like it's training. So when they start to be able to achieve what it takes to get on the podium, they've done that because of practice, qualifying, racing, and everything else around that. And so I think there's no shortcuts to sustain success. If you want to have sustained success, no shortcuts. Consistency, discipline, and investment. That's what it takes.
And then to go back to, what we discussed in our previous episode about the measurement as well, measuring the things.
100%.
And I think it's so important, as you said, your strategies, what are the things that make your outcome true?
Yes.
And often we measure we look at the outcome, but what are the inputs that make that outcome, enable you to realize that goal? Next one, be involved in the detail. Don't overmanage, don't undermanage, but you've got to know what's going on. How do you manage that tightrope? Well, again, my words, tightrope, it may not be very easy for you, but so you don't, you're just in at the right level.
If you don't stay close to the detail, you're not going to know what's going on. So you need to be close to the detail, especially if there's a problem. But don't suffocate your teams. And I think suffocation is the key word there. You talked about both the extremes, over-managing, under-managing. I think over-managing kills ownership. Yeah. So nobody's got ownership. You're over-managing. Under-managing creates drift, and you're gonna drift from what you want to achieve. So the art is in knowing enough without taking over. You need to know enough. You need to know how to encourage, how to question, how to help, but don't take over. As soon as you take over, it's your problem.
Brad Levy, who's obviously our mutual friend, he speaks about his analogy is the seaplane, the surfer, the snorkeler, and the scuba diver. And he's like, you can't be in the coral all the time. If you're scuba diving too much, then you're not managing effectively. But you've got to know which altitude. Different situations require a different altitude.
Yep, it's good description as well.
Well, he loves his metaphors. Okay, you at Market, NIHS Market, you did a lot of acquisitions, and you also spoke about organic growth is where the real value lies, and the importance of making it a priority. Again, can you elaborate on that?
Well, to tell the truth, if you really go to the core of how I think, true value isn't bought. It's built. That's important. And, organic growth is sustainable. It's long-term. It's always the most valuable in terms of your business multiples. And, it's reflecting your real strength. It's, your product, it's your people, your customers and their trust in you. And so for me, being able to build organically is always the most important aspect of growth. Now, if you're reaching maximum TAM and you need to either develop new products organically, staple on new products that you create in-house organically, that's outstanding. But where you're feeling the best way to leverage your strength with your customers is to acquire and have inorganic growth, fine. It's just you better then develop the muscle set for doing acquisitions and integration and blending cultures of, more than one company, because they don't all come with the same culture, right? It just doesn't happen. I always use the analogy of, growing up in Canada versus my friends growing up in America. If you were Greek and you came to Canada, and Canada was playing Greece in basketball in Toronto, the Greeks could still, especially first and even second generation, even third, could be cheering with Greek flags. In the US, when somebody comes from Greece or Italy or Bulgaria or China or Japan, they come to the US, they want to be Americans. And so they all wave American flags. Different culture, different strategy per se for countries. Canada embraces a melting pot, multiculturalism. Everybody gets to be who they are and who they want to be. Whereas coming to America, it's about becoming American. And actually, most people that go to America, they want to become American. Yeah. They're excited about it. Fastest growth, best tech, fastest food, Amazon Prime now. I can get everything right now in 2 seconds. Everything's available to me. And it's just different. It's not better, not worse, just different. And so, I'm of the view that I really want to embrace where I came from in Canada, which was a melting pot of so many different things. And what Canada's done is it's led people to be able to live together from many different backgrounds in a very positive way, and with a lot of respect, inclusivity, built into the formulas.
When you talk about that blending cultures in an organization, I suppose what I was curious about is how do you make sure that those cultures get blended well, like when you've made an acquisition? And where do you see people where it's not working out? Like, what are they doing that means that blend just doesn't happen?
Well, I go back to what I said. I allow the different flags to be flown in the company and to be proud of where you came from. I don't try to erase that. It's okay that you're from you develop your culture in a company that we've acquired. I don't expect you to erase it. What I care is common values.
Yeah, I love that.
The values is the common layer. The cultures, I can have many cultures, but one set of values. That's really important to me.
And again, if things were to not go well, that's where there isn't a common set of values. I'm assuming that's where, I'm not saying IHS, but where you've seen other companies where they've acquired and things, it hasn't blended. Do you see the fundamental?
Well, sometimes people might want to have those common values. They just haven't been led to a common interface like that, and therefore they start to develop bad behaviors, or you're not communicating well enough, you're not updating enough, people become insecure, people start seeing that you're taking things away. You have to explain everything. Integration is all about early and continued communication, and being clear on how these two companies are coming together and what the outcome is going to look like, and how does that impact you as a, doesn't matter if you're in reception, or you're chief data scientist, or you're selling a product. How is this impacting you? You want to know.
Yeah, I think it really speaks to, the word communication's come up a lot today, but that early and continued communication to avoid the water cooler conversations or the
Yeah.
unhelpful ones. So, this that transparency is equity, like just, speak to people.
Yes.
So talk about speaking to people. I wanted to pivot to, your shareholders, because your shareholders are some of your most important customers. And you said, so you better be well prepared to go deep when asked the question. So my question there, how do you prepare? How do you know what's important to them? And, what does it give you when you come from that level of preparation?
Well, I think it gives you credibility. So, the more prepared you are and the more substance you have and your ability to demonstrate your depth of knowledge, that's really important when you have shareholders that are also customers, because it means they understand your product, your business, and what you're serving up. If you're a chef and you're serving dinner to 25 chefs, that's different than serving dinner to just 25 people or 25 people that like food, right? So I think understanding your audience, being prepared,
Yeah.
making sure you have depth in your substance, then you're going to have credibility. And shareholders, stakeholders, deserve accountability and deserve for you to be accountable to them and to demonstrate to them, your performance, your value, your profitability, your growth, your challenges, your problems. You need to, and honesty is really important. Honesty, humility, all play an important role here.
Yeah. And I suppose the honesty is being realistic with expectations. Like when it was COVID and, the market was in a little bit of turmoil, like be honest. And I remember you said, then you'd give like, some of the investors different scenarios.
Yes,
Because there were so many data points that were unavailable and it was uncharted territory.
yes, yes.
And you said as well, when we talk about shareholders, I want to talk about the board. You said, never leave a board outcome to chance. How do you do that? Do you have a lot of pre-syndication before board meetings? How do you do that?
I think if what you're going to present is complex, then you should try to find time for individual board members or small groups of board members to bring them along in their understanding of that before you get there. So, if you're Ford and you're going to show up with a big acquisition or merger with Toyota, I don't think you just pop up at the board with this idea, right? And if you're IHS Market and you're focused on data and information, you decide that you're going to become a broker or a asset manager, you better have a really good set of reasons and understanding on why you might want to do that.
So
And
no
so
unexpected
to me,
surprises.
I do think that I don't just show up.
Yeah, no unexpected surprises then.
No.
And for the last, because we're going to do 10 lessons today, we've gone through 9. I was going to ask you to give me a number between 1 and 250. So this is going to be a complete, we don't know what's coming, but what number would you choose from your book?
9.
9. Why did you choose 9? Intuition
I
or
just like the number.
Yeah, I was thinking, is that a favorite number? Okay, so number 9 is, oh, we've already done it. Okay, so which is about
Okay, 99.
99. So it's all the 9s. Right, here we go. Let's see what 99 brings us. Okay, if you find yourself pushing against a failing outcome, you have to know how to adjust.
So, if you find yourself in a situation and you're not going to be successful in your outcome, you got to adjust. You got to make adjustments. You got to step back and reassess. You have to, make a decision to shelve the project. Make a decision, if it's a pricing problem, to make adjustments, if profitable. make a decision to, make additions to the project and slow down the launch. Like, not knowing the particular situation, I think the quote is actually a very good one, which is, once you determine that you're going to have unsuccessful event about to occur, then make changes. You're hosting a client dinner, and the gas goes off in the kitchen, and there's no gas for cooking, right? What do? Like, at that point, you just, as people arrive, say, I'm really sorry, everyone has to go home. Or do you make an adjustment? Adjustment might be, what can we serve as a starter, main, and clearly dessert's probably okay. That doesn't have to be cooked. Is there a something nearby that we could bring food in? Could we bring the main course in, serve our starters, and while we're doing that, is a local Japanese, Chinese, Indian restaurant nearby that could bring us in, the main course in size. Like, you gotta be able to make decisions. And what I hate is when the problem's happening and everybody's frozen in their tracks. My view is okay, we have a problem. Ideas?
Yeah.
Give me some ideas. Let's collect the ideas. That's a crazy idea. That one's not happening. That's not bad. That's interesting. We're right next to a very interesting Thai restaurant that can create a main course that should be suitable for, 90%. They can probably create a vegetarian course. We have 200 people here. Is that possible? That Thai restaurant only serves 15 people a night. Okay, idea's gone. Next. And so, you've got these, you got to be able to make decisions and decide what you're going to do. And sometimes it's tough. Sometimes you're going to not satisfy everybody with the decision you're going to make. Or worst case scenario, you have to apologize, say sorry, explain what's happened, and then probably apologize again in writing the next day how horrifically embarrassed you are. So I think that that quote applies to many things in our journeys, and we have to think on our feet and make those tough decisions.
I was thinking if that happened at a dinner party, I'd just be like, I'm just going to serve more wine.
Yeah. Well, thank God at home, if we're having a dinner party, you could order in on Deliveroo and have it there. And probably you could put it on your own plates and people would think you're a master chef. But if it was a big corporate banquet, I guess, that, I imagine, hey, as I start thinking about it, I imagine the great leadership in a hotel chain has generators to back up power, gas to back up gas, more than one appliance. Like they've got all this redundancy built in. They can't afford for that to happen. So it was probably a bad example, but I think we got the point.
I love it.
We got the point.
And it makes me think of Sir Clive Woodward, and he was the coach for the World Cup 2003 English rugby team, and he talks about teacup, thinking calmly under pressure. Like, how, because again, when those moments happen, how do we as a team think calmly under pressure? And I love what you said, move into solutionizing.
Yeah. And when you add all that up, everything we've said, I kind of think of, you're setting a bold direction. You're always building strong foundations. Use discipline when you're executing. Execute with discipline. Stay close and empower, but don't smother. And probably finally, just prepare relentlessly. Yeah. And make sure you're always prepared.
Love this. And very last thing, one book that it stood the test of time for you, leadership book. Because again, people want to be like, what does he consume? We talk about learning agility.
Actually, my favorite that I went back to the other day was Dale Carnegie, the public speaking lessons. And actually, I think that was one of the best courses I ever put for a sales team, was to take the Dale Carnegie public speaking course. And yeah, it's a very helpful course that you could do yourself, or it's better to do it with other people because you have to put your heart out on your sleeves. And I think that the skill set that you can improve on with that course is quite substantive. And I did use it back in the late 80s with sales teams quite extensively. And, the awarding of the Dale Carnegie pen, people still, they hold that with closeness to their hearts. And the fact that your people are listening to you, telling an emotional story.
Yeah.
With a group of people that you don't always know. It's quite powerful. Great learning. So that's, if you haven't done that course, choose 5 or 6 friends and do it together.
I love that. Well, look, thank you so much. I've made so many notes, as always. It's always just such an enjoyable experience having you on, having these conversations. So I appreciate you and thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Georgie.
Thanks, Lance.
If you want to see the full episode, please do look at Apple and Spotify under Stratospheric Leaders, or go to YouTube where it will be under Georgie Dickens. I hope you enjoyed the full episode. There are so many great sound bites shared.